All right, guys. Once again, we're going to start with the TLDR. Save you guys some time, but I do appreciate if you could watch the link for this video just for YouTube analytics. But yeah, let's get started on this, and I hope you all are having a good day. Let's get started, though. Finally, we get some news regarding Freeman Guerrilla Warfare this last week. Now, I wanted to wait a little bit to see if we get any more news because the messages from one of the developers has been kind of sporadic throughout the days as they're probably catching up on the Discord or just, trying to think of the right thing to say because you got a lot of people right now that are waiting for some shit. They need to see some good news, right? And lucky for everyone who's an game enthusiast, the game has not been canceled. I should say the rework. It has not been canceled. It is still being worked on. In fact, quote unquote, currently being worked on. Now, unfortunately, one of the devs said that we would not have a press release, and that's what I was actually waiting for before I posted the video, to see if we could get some more material to go off of, to analyze, to just kind of just see what the timeline's been. Now, for some people who might think that a press release is not necessary, I'm about to just show you why, in fact, it is, for both developer confidence and progress towards reworking the game. Right over here. See this over here, guys? Freeman Guerrilla Warfare is part of the Steam Halloween sale. 30% off, 20.29 Canadian, which is 18.29 USD if I do my conversions somewhat correctly. Was never a good math student, right? It is gone from being mostly / very positive to mixed, all within the last 2 weeks, with the majority of the negative reviews coming in the last 2 weeks, right? This is after the Discord message. Most of these people probably aren't even in the Discord, and if they are in your Discord, they sure as hell don't believe what you, the developers, have said. Let's read some of this. The game is not finished yet. No news from the devs since they promised a total rework. 19th of October. We're going to excuse that. Probably an abandoned game. This is the 28th of October. This guy played 0. This is literally today. 28th of October. Haven't heard from them in a while. This guy is definitely not in your Discord. 2 people found this helpful. So you got 3 people who don't know what the hell is going on. Bad game and abandoned. 27th of October. Recent as well. 2 people plus. Could be the same 2 people, but who knows. Abandoned game. Devs just checked out a new game. This isn't entirely true, but this guy is frustrated. No idea why. It's very positive. You get my point, right? And guess what? There's going to be way more of this the longer there's no press release. And on Halloween, when people are looking to spend money, this is a missed opportunity. Or incoming Halloween, I should say, with a sale. But yeah, that's why you need a press release. But the fact that it's very likely not going to happen poses another interesting question that I've actually been thinking about the last couple of days, as well as the fact that something else that was brought up as to why there really wasn't anything. Because it just, honestly, guys, it just didn't make any sense to me why the hell there was no progress posts at all. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, it's not even PR 101. It's for crying out loud. It's like, it's like common sense 101 almost. You know what I mean? And then I thought to myself, what if there was actually nothing? What if there was like legit nothing? And then I thought to myself, how could there be nothing? Well, there could be nothing if the company only exists in name and they're no longer developers for Freeman as a full-time job. That would make a lot more sense, right? Remember, in their previous post on April 22nd, when they said, we got bankrupt, we're now back on their feet, I think a lot of people just assumed, myself included for a little bit before I thought of this, a lot of people just assumed that the old crew was back together and they'd be posting daily as a company. Well, not really, because if you're back on your feet, it doesn't, like, you're surviving, right? I think that's what they were trying to imply, right? That they've managed to get out of a sticky financial situation. The company's bankrupt, but they're all fine individually. They've recovered from it. The 3 or more devs, probably a 3-person dev team at this point, if I remember, are probably each working separate jobs, and Freeman Guerrilla Warfare is kind of like a non-profit, like, their passion project, like a non-profit thing. They're going to work on it when they have time and rebuild it into the way they want it to be, right? Which is very admirable. If the company only exists in name now and they're not full-time remaking the game, when did work actually start, right? I know we saw that, that minor screenshot. I wish I had it, honestly. That minor screenshot of the vehicle, right? The transport truck that would become our, like, it's kind of like the carriage in the new Darkest Dungeon that just came out, right? You're always on it and like moving around the map. I think what's likely happened is they started for the first 2 weeks to a month, right? Then work got really busy and they couldn't all meet up to like develop it. And then they just put the project on hold for a couple months, and they only recently started working on it again soon. And the reason why I say recently is because, one, the wording of the replies, and these weren't brash replies. The dev took their time in wording this correctly, right? They took their time. It says currently working on it, not we've been working on it. Currently. So that would imply recent, because if you've been working on it for a long term and you have nothing, well, holy hell, how bad does that look, right? Like, if you've actually been working on it, like, you could say you've been working on it, but that could mean so many things. Like, yeah, I've been working on like uploading more YouTube videos, technically speaking. Yeah, it's in my head, you know, but like, I was actually, no. Am I currently doing it? Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, guys, there we go. My goodness, it has been a while, a little over a month, but we finally got some news regarding Freeman Guerrilla Warfare. October 20 of 2021, one of the devs replies to a Discord message. This is the first interaction we've had from a dev in eternity. I'm going to censor the person who wrote it because you guys all know who the devs are, so there's really no point in trying to censor that anyway. This is just a question into wondering if they're replying, if the dev is replying to the comments on her YouTube channel. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now, guys. From what I noticed, this person, the dev was online, like, for quite some time before posting this reply. At least that's what I think. Because, and it makes sense, because if you haven't been on Discord for a while, you got to read every single message that's occurred since then. Now, if the devs didn't know about the mods resigning, they sure as hell do now. They sure as hell do now. Part of me thinks they were invisible, so they already knew ahead of time. Because let's be honest here, right? What are the chances 2 days before the 6-month deadline, right? Which, by the way, I must clarify right now. This wasn't an interaction between a dev and like a chatter. This was in their press release. Rough ETA, right? So they kind of set this shit up in the first place. What are the chances that 2 days before that 6-month deadline, boom, oh, I gotta check what's been going on. Or I gotta say something. Otherwise, it looks real bad. Like, if before it looked bad, it's gonna look even worse than now. But it's just saying I'm replying. The Discord goes buzzing. And I wanted to wait a while before I actually posted the video because I wanted to see if we'd actually get a press release. Like an official, typed release about what's been going on, kind of giving us a timeline or anything. So I kind of held off a little bit. I probably should have made this video in November, but I was like, you know what? It doesn't seem like anything new's coming out, so I'm going to pop it up today. Okay, so second screenshot that we have. Let's go. And then there's some conversation going back and forth, and something else that one of the users on Discord is like, we really appreciate it if you could give us something, anything. And the dev basically replies, yeah, I know, but I can't say anything about the ETA. But they're currently working on the game. And I think this is what everyone wanted to hear. Currently working on the game, right? This is the go-to. We didn't the worst case scenario for a lot of people was we've had to suspend the rework or something like that. This is the money right here. We are currently working on the game. Not sure why there was a winky face emoji. I thought that was questionable. Final message comes a couple days later, October 26th. You can see I took some time before to get the shit rolling. But let's just zoom in here and make sure we can see. Glad to hear, I suppose, no news updates for the months. And this is what I wanted to hear. Is there going to be a press release? Now, most likely, I thought, okay, maybe it's just gonna take some time to write. So I waited 2 days, but it's not happening, guys. There's no press release whatsoever. So this, kind of wraps up everyone's curiosity, like what's been going on. And there's gonna be a lot more speculation too, right? Now, the one thing I want to bring up in all of this, I really don't think there's a single problem with any of these posts. I think this is addressing the community. It's like the dev came out and said, look, we're still on it. We're still working on it. But what this makes me want to consider, and it's something that I really want to hone in for you guys as well, is when did work actually start, right? When did work actually start? Now, I don't think these people have been doing much PR or anything, but I have, because my job requires me to. But beside the point, and this is why it's really, really important. Actually, I'm going to go back to this to show you. I find this to be very, very intriguing. Currently working on the game. if you've been working on it since April, you would have said, we've been working on the game, right? You wouldn't say currently. Currently implies that like you just started, like, or it's very recent stuff, right? And when I thought that, I'm like, there's like, maybe this is like overshooting, but this is like some speculation. And I think it actually makes sense that if they just started, because here's why, guys. Here's why. Remember my previous video how I said it doesn't make sense for you to post nothing if you have something to post. You don't post something unless there's absolutely nothing. So what I think happened, and this I think the more I thought about this, the more it kind of makes sense. Like a little theory on why the information's been so sparse is, we all assumed that when KK said they're back on their feet, right? In that like April 22nd post, we all assumed that like they're back to like the state they were when they were first developing Freeman Guerrilla Warfare. For all we know, that I don't even think that's the case. Like, you might be back on your feet in the sense that, congrats, you're out of a sticky financial situation. But maybe, like, I don't think they are. I think they're out of the situation, mind you. I don't think the company exists anymore except for the name, is what I'm trying to get at. I think they're working, full-time jobs elsewhere. They're not dedicated full-time to reworking the game. And I think a lot of people just assume that, myself included. So I thought about, like, it would make a lot more sense, like this pattern of communication, or lack of in this case, and it would make more sense if they're only like they're working full-time jobs in other companies doing other things, and remaking Freeman Guerrilla Warfare or reworking it is like their passion project that the 3 devs or however many the original team people had are doing on the side. I don't know how many they had. I just know from watching one of the live streams there was like at least 3. It was Tina, Melamori, and then he had like a Chinese coder, or maybe another two Chinese coders in the background of their live stream or whatever, right? But I don't think like they're back on their feet in the sense that, yeah, the company, like the tenuous company situation is over. They settled the bankruptcy, whatever. But I don't think this company, like, they're working in the company anymore, and this is their primary concern. I think each and every one of them probably have gone their separate ways, and the only thing that's keeping them together is their desire to remake this game for us, which is very, very admirable, right? But then you're probably asking, but Scar, what about that Unity picture? Well, here's the thing. You get busy at different times of the year with work, right? So when they posted that, oh man, the camera's going fuzzy. I gotta tone down the motions. I can't. Goodness gracious! I'm looking at the camera here, like the second display, and it's just hazy as hell. All right, back to what I was trying to say, right? You get busy at different times during the work year, right? Sometimes, like, I know this from personal experience, it gets busy as hell during the fall when it comes to work. It's not that busy in the spring, right? So that Unity picture may mean that they may have started initially, like legit started, maybe for a week or two in summer, right? But work got really, really busy, and then they basically had to put the project on hold for a couple of months. And only recently have they started doing it, like, have they started working on it again, which would make sense if they say currently we are working on the game, right? This would match the wording. This would definitely match the wording. But mind you, this is just speculation. They could have been, well, actually, no, because if they had been working on it, they would have posted anything. But anyway, we're going to call it speculation just for the sake of the argument right now, right? This would match what's been going on. Now, that poses another question, guys. When did they start picking it up again? When? And I think I have an answer. You see, the devs are, one of the devs is fairly active on social media, and they've stopped being as active last 2 months, right? I think it may have started the last 2 months. Let me be honest with you. Or at least like after August, they picked up the project again. If indeed what that initial timeline of them starting in April and then pausing makes any sense. I think that's what's happened. Yeah. But yeah, guys, interesting stuff. I don't want to go too long on this ramble, but yeah, it's good to know that the game's being remade, and this kind of timeline, this kind of explanation as to why we have nothing. At least there's finally an explanation. It's not a full-time company. They're self-funding it, if anything, and off their own time, and they're working real-life jobs as well. So the company only exists in name. So they got back on their feet, but not as a company. They got back on their feet as, like, adults that are working in game dev. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one, all right?